show. I am your host, Josh Williver, here on this beautiful Wednesday evening, August 20th. We are still over a month away from training camp, but look, this Brooklyn Nets team had an extremely busy offseason, one of the busiest in the Brooklyn eras, and today we get to dive in on NBA analysts from The Athletic directly going at the Nets and if they attack the offseason properly or not. So we'll get into that and so much more right here on the show. Smash the like button and hit subscribe. Thank you all for tuning into the show. Helps us grow significantly. Free. You don't have to pay anything. Like and subscribe helps the show a ton. Drop all your questions, comments, thoughts as well into the chat for me to react to, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. Again, any questions, comments, thoughts, throw those over in the chat. Smash the like and hit subscribe. It helps us grow a ton here on the show on our road to 500 subscribers. We are getting closer and closer by the day. I can feel it. So we have so much exciting stuff lined up once we hit that 500 subscriber mark. So drop down below this video real quick, smash the like button, and hit subscribe. Helps us grow tremendously right here on the program and the Brooklyn Boys show. So if you could do that, it would be much appreciated. Look, this Brooklyn Nets team was busy all offseason long, owning a sixth of the first round. They also added a couple first-round picks to their repertoire for future seasons. They got key veterans into the building, and they picked up 4 team options. So we get to go over everything that the Nets did this offseason and grade it based on what the analysts over at The Athletic are thinking, based on what I'm thinking. Let's jump right into the article that was released earlier this morning by The Athletic. And they ranked the Brooklyn Nets 23rd in terms, or 22nd, in terms of every NBA team and how their offseason went. Obviously, you get a quick rundown here of everything that the Nets did this offseason, who they added to their roster. I'm not going to go through it all, but obviously, big name starts on top with the Michael Porter Jr. trade and the Terrence Mann. You get these 2 guys coming into the building here to hopefully be veteran presences and mentor the younger guys in the building. But we'll get into that later. But just take a look at this list. The Nets and Sean Marks in this front office built a lot up this offseason. There was a lot riding on this year, headed with 4 first-round picks into draft night, or at least draft the week leading up. You add another one in that Terrence Mann deal. So this Nets front office was busy all summer long. They made a lot of moves, and really this roster is already starting to fill out. We're already starting to see it take shape, and we know guys that are guaranteed roster spots at this point for Brooklyn, even before we've gotten to training camp. So what'll be interesting is to see who on the bubble is playing well in the preseason, all throughout training camp, and whose stock may be going down and is going to have a harder time making this roster. Obviously, every spot on this roster, whether it's a 2-way contract, whether it's an opportunity in the starting lineup, is going to be so sought after because, to be honest, this roster is like you're sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Jersey Turnpike. There is people everywhere. It is jam-packed. You could go a ton of different ways. You could merge lanes, but, this Nets roster, a ton of different ways you could go with it. So that is something that Jordy Fernandez and Sean Marks are really going to have to figure out how to maneuver their way through this all. It's almost like they're in a construction zone in terms of roster construction when you take you take a team that was inexperienced and had trouble all of last season, and you add veterans who top that list in terms of additions that the Brooklyn Nets brought into the building this offseason. So obviously it starts top to bottom in terms of importance. You can see some of the packages in terms of picks the Nets got at the bottom of your screen. A lot of second-round picks. Nets traded their only day 2 pick for 2 future seconds from the Suns, then obviously acquired one in just earlier this week in the Haywood Highsmith trade. But the biggest of those picks being the only first-round pick they acquired this year, the 2032 first-round pick, as a part of that deal that brought Michael Porter Jr. to Brooklyn in exchange for Cam Johnson. So obviously that's a very interesting trade. We'll see. The Nets had to eat a lot of cap space around $35 million in MPJ's contract. So you net a first round pick there, but obviously a ton of cap to eat. So only time will tell with that trade on how that worked out. But overall, a ton to unpack. The Nets add so many new faces into the building. So it's going to be a struggle to make the roster if you're somebody on the Nets looking for a position on this team, at least an established position in terms of playing time. And it's also going to be a struggle, I think, to hold a roster spot, to continue to get minutes on this court. Jordy Fernandez, this is going to be a roster that's truly unlike any other in the NBA this year. This is going to be a roster for the Brooklyn Nets that is constantly moving around and switching up. The starting lineup you see on day one, boom, day three, or even the next day, the home opener against Cleveland could be completely different. Jordy Fernandez is going to want to get these rookies run, especially on a not great basketball team. This is the opportunity you have to step these guys up, show them what it's like to play under the NBA spotlight. So not only is it going to be a struggle to make this roster, it's absolutely might even arguably be a bigger struggle to earn and hold that playing time once you get it, because you know how Jordy Fernandez is. We saw it last year where, if you're not playing well and you're not showing maximum effort, this Nets team isn't going to stand for it. So certainly something to look at with a ton of new additions, both picks wise and also players that are going to make an impact on this roster. So you just look at the additions and it's almost a full page worth of guys that the Nets brought in. So there's going to be a ton of question marks heading into the season, a lot of switches to be made, a lot of roster decisions to be made. But look, overall, this Nets team, you could not be in a better spot in terms of having your way with who makes this roster. You get to pick and choose who makes this final roster cut. And honestly, you've surrounded yourself with pretty good talent, whether it be through the rookie class, whether it be surrounding those young guys with high quality veterans. Michael Porter Jr. and Terrence Mann highlight those two at the top of your screen there. But overall, Jordy Fernandez, Sean Marks are going to be able to mold and build this roster the way that they want to. And going into the offseason, if nothing else, at least you can say this Brooklyn team has a rookie class under their belt. They know who some of the guys in the future are going to be on this Nets team, which certainly was not the case going back to last season, because they didn't have any picks in the draft at all, which turned out to be a little bit of a disaster there with, trading away that pick. So the Nets finally have a rookie class under their belt. At least they can say that. Jordy Fernandez has young talent that he can work with, he can mold to be able to play at that NBA level. But of course, with the additions, there's always going to be some subtractions. And while the Nets had some good offseason moves to drop some guys and, some other ones that Nets fans might not love, you look at the top of your screen. Obviously, Cam Johnson highlights that list as guys that the Nets moved on from. They packaged him in that trade to bring Michael Porter Jr. to Barclays Center. But look, overall, but Cam Johnson was obviously a trade piece. Almost as soon as the offseason entered, he was a guy that I thought could have been dealt last deadline, but Sean Marks decided to hold off, thought he could get better value in the offseason. And honestly, we'll talk about this later. A big part of the athletic summary of the Nets offseason has to do with this Cam Johnson, Michael Porter Jr. trade. So we certainly will unpack it later, even more in depth. But look, from a picks perspective, you probably could have gotten more. I'm guessing if you say we got Cam Johnson, we want draft assets in return, I'm guessing that you get 2 first-round picks. This is a market, the NBA, that is blooming for high-end role players. You talk about Mikal Bridges, you just got 5 first-round picks for that. You just saw the Dylan Brooks trade go down. Orlando, Memphis making a huge deal there, to swap around role players. But high-quality role players are coming at a premium right now. Denver certainly sought after Cam Johnson as a guy who can space the floor for their 3 stars there. You got Jamal Murray, obviously multi-time MVP Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon. So the Nuggets don't necessarily need another shooter, which MPJ brought to the table, but they needed a guy like Cam Johnson who would mesh really well into that system, be a pass-first option, stretch the floor, get other guys open. So definitely a plus on their end. For Brooklyn, look, again, you probably could have gotten multiple first-round picks if that was the only thing you're looking for, but you take on a high-quality scorer in Michael Porter Jr., which if Cam Thomas isn't on this team, you don't have another high quality scorer on this Brooklyn Nets team, at least one that's not established at the pro level yet. Maybe Igor Dioman steps up to do that. Maybe we see a significant leap from Zaire Williams, or we get some pluses at the center spot. Day'Ron Sharpe or Noah Clowney or Nick Claxton all could progress, and you could see that going on for sure in terms of, high end scoring. But right now, again, the Nets team lacks that all around. So you bring in Michael Porter Jr. I'm fine if that's the way you want to go instead of maximizing your picks value out of that Cam Johnson deal. And who knows? This move could eventually warrant more first round picks. Let's say Michael Porter Jr. has a crazy year, and it's going to be tough to give away that contract, but there is a world in which a team, frees it up and, has the salary to be able to do it. But for right now, he's the number one scoring option on this team. So I have no problem if you, take away just a little bit of the draft capital out of that trade. And then rounding out the list, the only other significant name on that list of lost guys that you did not end up retaining was probably Trendon Watford, a guy that I'm all right moving on from. Maxwell Lewis got waived, but basically everybody else there, no significant losses for this Nets team. So they will have a lot of returners. And then you look at the returners, guys who were on the Nets last year who had expiring deals. The Nets, the top two guys definitely going to make the biggest impact out of anybody on this team. Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams, they both pick up on 2-year, $12 million deals, which have yet to be inked, but that'll be coming, in the next month or so after the Nets figure out everything is in terms of hitting the cap floor and, what you have to do in terms of, getting to that, because they're the only team in the NBA that is not at the salary cap floor. So they need to figure out how to, dish some money out in certain areas before you end up getting in cap trouble with the league and having to spread around some money to some other guys. So not sure if that's exactly what Sean Marks is willing to do or wants to do rather with his boatload of empty cap space. So those signings should be coming pretty soon. But look, those were a number one in terms of returnees on this list that you'll see. Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams. Day'Ron Sharpe to start things off. A late round gem, a guy that's been a very efficient rebounder in his limited time. I think he could easily jump into the starting role if Nick Claxton has another down year as he did last year. So Sharpe, a guy that I'm looking to have a huge season, truly blossom into his peak or close to his peak here in this season with the Brooklyn Nets. That's going to be wide open in terms of playing time. Again, that's another option that you look at this Nets season. No matter who, no matter how they get on this team, no matter who it is, the Nets will give you opportunities at the NBA level. If you've earned that way up, Jordi Fernandez will not be willing to go deep into his bench, get guys rotational minutes on this Brooklyn team. Jordi Fernandez wants to and will effectively use his bench guys. So if there's guys behind Day'Ron that outplay him, absolutely, you go ahead, put them on the court. But Day'Ron Sharpe, a guy I'm looking to have a huge year. And Zaire Williams, man, he was probably my favorite net last year if I had to put a name on it. A guy that comes in from Memphis, looked at around the league as sort of a draft bust, and the Nets mold him into a very high-end defender on the defensive end of the floor. At 6'9" as a small forward, that's just an unfair assignment for other small forwards in the league to have to go up against. So Williams, a great defender and could shoot the three ball when you needed it. So both of those guys a big time plus. And then the question marks start to come below that when you pick up all four team options: Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Tyrese Martin, and Drew Timme. To me, Timme, a guy that fits this roster mold well. Again, I'll say it again. The Nets drafted 3 guards and 2 forwards in their 5 first-round picks. So, and only one true big man in Danny Wolf, and he was their second to last pick. So this Nets team, eh, in terms of guards and forwards, they seem pretty set to me in terms of rotational minutes. Drew Timme, though, definitely a guy that I could see squeaking his way into solid minutes on this roster just because the Nets don't have that big man depth that they do, at other positions. Obviously, they still have depth. No doubt about it. Nick Claxton, Day'Ron Sharpe, Noah Clowney. Those are 3 guys that you absolutely trust if you're the Nets to go in there, give you high quality minutes. But, just compared to the boatload of rotational guys that the Nets have at the guard and the small forward, Drew Timme, I could see earning his way up that power forward spot, earning solid minutes there behind a guy like Michael Porter Jr. But Jalen Wilson, Tyrese Martin, and Keon Johnson, those are the three I'm circling to talk about because one way or another, you got to make room on this Nets team in terms of roster space. So these are three guys that by no means have their roster spots, even though they all got their team options picked up for this season. These guys by no means have their roster spots guaranteed. I think that there's definitely a scenario in which Sean Marks waives even two of these guys, despite bringing them back for training camp and all that, just to see what impact they could potentially make on this roster. But in no world do all four of these guys that the Nets pick up their team option on make this 15-man roster. So uh, the two I'm circling right now, most likely, probably Wilson and Martin, if I had to put names on it, guys that, maybe even Johnson, guys that their roles on this team are easily replaceable on the guys behind them. So that's not something you want to do. You want to stick out like a bright sore thumb in terms of training camp and the preseason if you want a shot and making this roster getting high end minutes because that team has again, I'll say it, they have a traffic jam like they're on the Jersey Turnpike on a weekday rush hour in terms of their roster right now. They have guys going every which way, and you got to truly stick out like a 1980s beautiful looking Cadillac. So if you want to make this roster, you're going to have to earn it, and you're going to have to show that that's something special that they haven't seen these past couple of years from these three guys respectively. And then, excuse me, you bring back Tosan Awoma on the two-way. I'll say it. Tosan Awoma was my least favorite net last season, a guy that I mean, not an efficient shooter at all. Discoordinated or uncoordinated, however you say it. Just a big guy that doesn't know what to do with his body. And someone that I see bringing zero value to this Brooklyn Nets team is Tosan Uoma. I want to see close to none of him or as little as I can of him at the NBA level this year. I hope he stays down on Long Island. Truthfully, I don't think that he deserves to earn this two-way contract. I'd rather see Fenbo Zhang and Grant Nelson fill up two-way contracts instead of guys like Tosan Uoma, Tyson Etienne. But that's a story for another day. Tosan, I'm not truly excited about, but at the end of the day, the Nets, believe in him, and so they've given him this two-way contract. Let's see, how much he actually plays at the NBA level this season. I think certainly his minutes are up in jeopardy. By no means does Tosan Avoma already having that two-way contract under his belt at all mean that look forward to him getting significant minutes on this Nets team. That's not how I see it at all. In fact, I see it the other way around. But look, we talked about key additions, key subtractions from this Nets team, key retainees, but the most important and the beefiest part of the Athletics NBA offseason's rankings for the Brooklyn Nets is, their true analysis. And look, they call this the skinny, but it's really the deep dive into what this team has done and the overall outlook of the offseason, why they got ranked number 22 out of 30 teams in terms of their offseason. So let's jump into this and then unpack it a little bit after. So the Athletic says, quote, someone has to score on bad teams, so Michael Porter Jr. will have the green light from jump while he's at Barclays Center. It feels like the Nets sold a little low on Johnson, though I get speculating on that 32 first rounder becoming a golden ticket. And while each of the five players Brooklyn got in the draft have solid skills, particularly Dioman and Saraf, there's no way the Nets plan to use all of their 2025 first round picks. I'm pretty sure that they hoped to use them to move up into the top five and get a real difference maker who could accelerate the rebuild. That was a missed opportunity. Another tank season looms with the stakes now even higher to get a top 4 pick in 2026. Guys, smash the like button and hit subscribe. I got double-digit number of you guys in the building here in the heart of the offseason. If you're tuning into the show, man, you really are the best. You really are committed to this Nets team. Appreciate you all tuning in the chat. I see all you get. Load up questions, comments, thoughts, everything you got to say around in the Nets surrounding the NBA, and we'll get to those in just a couple of minutes right after we react to what the Athletics got to say about why the Nets are the 22nd team in their NBA offseason rankings. So let me know if you agree with this call. Does 22 feel right? Little high, little low? Why or why not? Let me know all that in the chat. Appreciate you all tuning in. Again, smash the like, hit subscribe. Helps us grow a ton on the channel. I'll start from the top here. Someone has to score on bad teams, and that's what I was talking about with the Michael Porter Jr. situation. A guy that's going to come in here. They said it And they're right. At the Athletic, he has the green light. He's going to have Jordy Fernandez's word, and he is going to be the number one shooter on this team. Whether you like a veteran in this league to come in here and possibly steal potential shot opportunities from the Nets, the way I see it is he can help mentor them. He can help bring them into the league slowly. And I think that would be an absolute huge plus on top of the fact that you have your number one shooter on this team. But the Cam Johnson aspect of things is it's what's really interesting about what the Athletic has to say here, because what they say about speculating that 2032 first to become a golden ticket, I think brings, so much. It's very interesting because the 2032 Denver Nuggets are going to look nothing like they do now. This is not going to be a team unless they build a Jordan-esque dynasty that has a two-time MVP on their roster, that is competing for a finals run every year, that's already won multiple chips on their rings. Nikola Jokic is still playing at a high of a level if he's even on the roster. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, who knows? They'll probably be retired 7 years down the line. So all I'm saying is this Denver Nuggets team is going to look nothing like they do present day, August 20th, 2025. So you bank on the Nuggets having broken everything down at that point, having their championship aspirations long gone in the review mirror, and really looking at that Nuggets team as a squad that, while they used to have great players and they used to be championship contenders back in their heydays, you look at them as a squad that is going to be bad, be a tanking lottery team, and just trying to reset as the Nets are doing right now, and basically just trying to hit the restart button on their franchise. So I think the Athletic makes an extremely valid point in that while the Nets rebuild is happening right now, and the Nets want as many picks as they can get in 2026, and speed this up as fast as possible, try and hit your diamond in the rough guy, even if that is a late round pick and not a lottery pick. I think it brings a lot of value to this Nets team to spread their assets out over multiple years. You obviously have the 2026 first of your own. That's going to be a high lottery pick. We all know that. And you have multiple in 27. You have basically the next future through 2031. You have draft picks in 29, 31. The Kyrie trade. You have renewing assets from the KD trade. You have all this stuff that has happened recently, but spreading it out through 2032 in what's going to be a bad Nuggets team, I'll tell you now, is absolutely a plus. And I really like the way Sean Marks didn't think about this rebuild as a right now mentality, but you strike gold in a 2032 first round pick. I mean, those guys are what, in elementary school right now? So you have absolutely no clue what that you don't even have a begin to think about what that pick could pan out to be right now. But look, all I'm saying is good on the Nets for spreading this out. This is a rebuild, but it's not a thing that's going to solve itself overnight. So the Nets have spread out their assets over multiple years, which is a plus in of itself. And then good on Sean Marks to be able to think to reset that and spread things out down the line. Excuse me. But Michael Porter Jr., Cam Johnson has been the trade of the offseason, and it's gotten all the spotlight. But let's move to what they have to say about the draft, because on NBA draft night, I thought, no way, this Nets team controls a sixth of the first round. They do not make all these picks. Maybe they package them up. Maybe they move into the top three. Ace Bailey's absolutely a possibility. Out of Rutgers, excuse me. A guy that said he wants to come to Brooklyn. Maybe you move up, even earlier into the lottery, get somebody different. VJ Edgecombe, Dylan Harper. The possibilities are endless. That's all I wanted to say. Maybe you want to take your guy at 8 in Yegor Dioman and then move back in the lottery. Maybe Kuman Malawach calls your attention. Maybe Derek Queen out of Maryland calls your attention. Maybe Bryant calls your attention. But look, the last thing that I was thinking was that, Sean Marks is going to pick at 8. He's going to pick at 19. He's going to pick at 22. He's going to pick at 26. And he's going to pick at 27. That never, ever crossed my mind, because who takes 5 rookies in a class? By far the biggest class in Nets history. And look, I think I'm agreeing with what they said. It's not like teams were unwilling to trade away picks. You saw 11 straight picks beginning in the late lottery, stretching all the way through the 20s, 11 straight picks were traded away and not picked by the original owner. So teams were willing to trade. That's as simple as it is. There's nobody. It's not like Sean Marks was just getting hung up on the whole night. Teams were trading picks like it was, like they were dropping like flies in terms of trading picks. But the fact that the Nets couldn't get anything done is extremely concerning. Sean Marks must have had zero leveraging, and he must not have done well, because I watched these Nets documentaries that they put out on the Scout, and it's how they're welcoming all these guys to Brooklyn. And did they really look that happy after they picked their guys? It was just like, I would have thought that they would have definitely wanted to move up. So that was confusing there. And I think what the Athletic says when they say, quote, there's no way the Nets plan to use all of their 2025 first. I'm pretty sure they hope to use them to move up into the top 5, get a real difference maker who could accelerate and the rebuild, end quote. I think what they mean has 100% truth behind it. I think this Nets team was looking for a difference maker in a shooter like Trey Johnson out of Texas to step into this Nets team, be the number one scorer like they're about to hand the reins over to Michael Porter Jr. to do. And I don't think at all, heading into draft day, the Nets' plan number one was to take 5 rookies, fill up the Nets training camp with inexperience. And look, it's a rebuild, so you want to get as many young guys in the door as you can. But that does not mean you get as many young guys in the door as you can and sacrifice quality. You're still looking to get high-end guys onto this team. And even if you get, only 2-3 first-round picks, if one of them pans out, you completely forget that you traded away. If one of them's an all-star, you completely forget you traded away another first-round pick to move up to snag whoever that guy may have been. But the draft is in the past. Another tank season looms, with the stakes now even higher to get a top 4 pick in 2026. I think we all know the tank is on, as Jonathan and I have named it. December is Merry Tank Month. If the Nets are losing those games at the beginning of the month in December, they're never going to win a game, because you look up and down that schedule. I think it's Wizards, New Orleans, Jazz, something like that. Maybe the Hornets mixed in there. If you're not winning those games, you're basically not winning any games at the NBA level. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Josh Wolliver, your host here on the Brooklyn Boys Show at the 10:30 hour here on this Wednesday, August 20th. You guys are the best. Sticking with us through the depths of the offseason. I can't thank you enough. Drop any and all questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the Nets being ranked 22nd in the Athletics NBA off-season rankings. And the Nets, 8th to last is not terrible. You would have thought that Sean Marks would have made more moves. But look, all I'll say is almost every team in the NBA right now has their offseason complete. It's in the books. They're looking forward to training camp. How can they develop their guys? Yada, yada, yada. Push for a finals contender. By no means, though, is the Brooklyn Nets offseason over. They still have $20+ million in cap space to work with. They still have roster spots up for grabs. They still have trades to be made, as we just saw earlier this week with Haywood Highsmith being acquired from Miami. And this Nets team, despite a lot of moves already. You saw the list at the beginning of the show. All the guys they brought in, all the guys they retained. This Nets offseason is far from over. So expect to see more trades coming through in the remaining couple of weeks. The Nets have to clear roster space one way or another. So whether it be through surprising cuts, whether it be through shocking trades, this Nets team is going to be making moves, and Sean Marks is going to be staying ready throughout the rest of the offseason. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. You guys are the best. Truly, truly, truly the best fans on all of YouTube. Throw all questions, comments, thoughts right there. Right there. Sorry, my camera's twisted around in the chat. You guys are the best. But any and all questions, comments, thoughts, go in the chat for me to react to right after this word from Shoreline Sports Cards. Stay with us right here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. Josh Wolliver with you.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show live on YouTube. Josh Woolever, your host tonight. Smash the like button and hit subscribe. Connor had a successful flight into Italy, landed at about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time last night. He landed down in Italy, so he's got a 7-hour time difference and some jet lag to catch up on before he can return to the show, in case you guys are wondering, because I know Timothy was in the chat a couple nights ago asking when Connor would be back. So he successfully made it to the land of the pizzas, and he is on the beach right now. He's in a beachside city, so yes, I'm jealous. Yes, I know a lot of you guys are jealous, but hopefully he's having a great time out there. Maybe he's even tuning into the show. Again, smash the like button, hit subscribe, throw every one of your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. And look, follow King Ribby's advice, as he always say. Appreciate it, King. Let's start at the top of the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. Claude Smith was the early bird who caught the worm today. First one in the chat. Claude says the Athletic ranked the Nets last. It's been said it's best to be at the top of the bottom. Claude, that was not the case this time. Nets were ranked 22nd out of 30 NBA teams, so they had 7 teams behind them. The Nets are usually last this offseason, whether it be power rankings, whether it be reaches on the draft. The Nets usually aren't getting great media publicity when it comes to this offseason. But look, Nets didn't finish dead last in this list, which was the NBA's offseason rankings, so at least something to put a smile on your face. Let's see what Claude says again. Putting a positive spin on the Nets offseason moves is like putting lipstick on a pig. Look, Claude, yes, it's been an ugly offseason. Whether it was not liking the pick from Yegor Diaman, whether it was a disappointing free agency class, and how the Nets have handled the Cam Thomas situation. When it comes down to it, Claude, I can't just come on here and harp about how bad the Nets are every night. You guys wouldn't enjoy it. We're at August 20th, Claude. I could tell you about how bad I think the Nets team is going to be. Why I don't think they'll be good shooting. Why they will get outmatched by 90% of teams in the league. But that's not what we want to hear about. We want to hear at least some positives on the show because, well, without them, things would turn bad. And I want to bring some positives to this Nets fan base, so I try my best. I'm not overly positive. I'm not overly optimistic and putting blind faith into Sean Marks and this Nets front office. That's not what I do, but I try my best to put some positivity into the fan base because, Claude, right now, this Nets team isn't great, but, no hate on you. If you want to be, if you, others in the chat, me personally, I'm not having a great outlook on what I think this season's going to be, but, I'm at least excited. Training camp around the corner, preseason. I'll be at the regular season home opener at the Barclays Center against the Cavs, so maybe it'll all wear off by 5 games into the season. I'm sure it will. I don't think this is going to be a good season by any means, but look, let's add some positivity into the world, shall we? Timothy Park, Jets made 2 trades today. That had to raise your eyebrows, Josh. Yep, Timothy, in Connor and I's Jet Chat sometimes on Connor's channel. Check that out if you haven't yet, but Jets filled a glaring hole, which was the defensive tackle spot. I like that Darren Muji's making moves. He's picking and plugging. Obviously, Jets got dominated at the defensive line of scrimmage against the Giants in preseason game number 2, so we'll see how it works out in preseason game number 3 coming right up against the Eagles on Friday night. So We're only 2 nights away from that, but Timothy, look, I think these trades are positives. You're swapping out day 3 picks that don't mean much, that are, shots in the dark if you're actually taking those 6th, 7th round picks. So, to be honest, Timothy, I got no problem with the Jets making moves. I like to see their aggressiveness, and they have the cap to take on more contracts. They have the 6th round picks to deal out. No problem with them at all, but back to the Nets. Claude comes in. Sean Marks' final act before he's out the door is the international experiment. I'm writing up an article right now for the BK Beat on Substack, which is this channel's official writing and news source over on Substack. Subscribe to that if you haven't already. But I talked about how there has not been an American-born MVP since James Harden did it on the Rockets in 2018. The league is trending international at an exponential rate. The quantity and the quality are both getting higher and higher as the seasons progress in terms of international prospects. You look up and down, probably the betting favorites to win MVP this year. The top 3 guys are probably going to be SGA, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, all 3 international born guys. So, I have no problem with Sean Marks trying his best to find that diamond in the rough. I know I go back to the well with that phrase, but to me, at this point in the rebuild, if you're going to take 5 first-round picks, at least try and get some potential in there. And I think that's what Sean Marks at least tried his best to do, is get guys that are definitely underlooked at in terms of the American media because they played overseas. They didn't play American college ball. So there's not a ton on them. But look, a lot of times those are the best guys that you can get, the ones that other teams don't see coming. And a lot of times that's what works out the best. Claude, once more, appreciate you tuning in. Claude Smith, you are the best. The Nets will be a lottery team guaranteed. And I agree with that, no doubt. I definitely agree with that. Trying to put some positivity into this fan base. I think this Nets team is definitely a bottom 5 squad in the league, in the Eastern Conference, probably bottom 3. But all about the lottery odds. That's almost the disappointing thing about this season, is no matter how bad the Nets are, if this is a 0-win basketball team, they still have the same chances they will get at the number 1 pick likely. And so at the end of the day, as bad as this Nets team is, as much as us Nets fans have to suffer, the problem is that we could be walking away with another 8th overall pick. We could be getting screwed over, as the entire team, an entire group of teams that were awful this year got screwed over by the Dallas Mavericks with a 1% chance to win the lottery coming into the night. And they were playing postseason basketball, for God's sakes. Come in and swoop the number 1 pick. So, unfortunately, no matter how bad it gets, all we can do is hope at the end of the day that the lottery balls turn out in our favor. It's hard to beat up on the Nets when a kid is hosting this show. Claude, please rip the Nets. I would love to react to your honest opinions. No sugarcoating, please. I would love to hear all your guys' honest thoughts, honest takes. But I know you guys are the best. King Ribby, shout out to him. You are the best, my friend. A Knicks fan, but constantly in our chat. Be like King Ribby. Like, subscribe, and share. By the way, shout out Josh. King Ribby RM, my friend. You are the best, man. Thank you so much for tuning in, day out. You're the best. I'm a Knicks fan, but support all 30 teams. I'm not a homer like some of you fans. But New York aligned, baby. Let's go. If the Knicks and the Nets are 2 teams top of the East, and we're having a little friendly crosstown rivalry, little Brooklyn versus the other 4 borough rivalry, I got no problem with that, King Ribby. I would love to see that. So if the Knicks and the Nets are the best teams in the East, or are both playing good basketball, when we're on the court together, when the 2 teams are out there, no hate, brother. Just hungry to win some basketball games. Appreciate you, King Ribby, tuning into the show. Claude Smith with a great point. King Ribby, I'm beginning to think deep down you're a Nets fan, LOL. Maybe he's just committed to the content. Maybe he's just a great guy tuning into the show. But I know, couple weeks ago, King Ribby said he was up for debate. Born in Brooklyn, King. We know your story. Born in Brooklyn, but you drifted over to Manhattan to be a Knicks fan. But the Nets world would love to have you back. We are ready and willing to. King, I will ship you out some Nets gear if you can admit that finally you are a Nets fan. I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want, King, but your support means a ton. Timothy Park is in the building yet again. Timothy, you're the best, my friend. Nuggets will still be good this upcoming season, Josh. I don't know what you are talking about. I was not talking about this upcoming season, Timothy. What I was talking about is the Nets acquiring the 2032 pick as part of that MPJ trade. And I was saying that by then, the dynasty and the Jokic era will likely be torn apart. A lot of those guys won't be playing basketball or won't be doing it for the Denver Nuggets at least. So, not at all. I think the Nuggets are high contenders. I have them as a top 3 seed in the West this year in a stacked Western Conference. That's not at all what I was saying, Timothy. I'm sorry if that got miscommunicated, but I was talking about 2032 when I see the Nuggets being a lottery team, which is when the Nets control that first round pick for that Cam Johnson, Michael Porter Jr. swap. Let's see. King says, what if those 5 picks, what if those 5 players are elite? Y'all gonna glaze Sean. Well, King, if Sean Marks hits on 5 first-round picks, if any NBA GM, any sports general manager hits on 5 first-round picks in the same season, it would be hard not to, King. It would be hard not to. So I've had my fair criticisms of Sean Marks in the past. I don't like how he's handled certain things as Nets GM, but if he hits on 5 first-round picks, if he hits on 3, if he hits on 2, we'll start at 2. If he hits on 2 first-round picks, truly hits on them. These are consistent all-star guys. You had yourself a positive draft if you're the Brooklyn Nets. If he hits on 5 first-round picks, forget everything else. Forget everything he's done as general manager of the Brooklyn Nets. His tenure is inked. He is here for the long run. 5 first-round picks. That would just be ridiculous, King. But as of right now, Sean Marks is very hot on his hot seat. I'll go back to this saying he's got this 2025 class, and he's got 1 year to see if his 2026 lottery pick worked out. Outside of that, if things are continuing to look south, Sean Marks is out of here because this roster is in desperate need of a turnaround, and if we can't get it soon enough, he's going to be out. JCBK all day, my friend. What a name. Appreciate you in the chat. Most GMs wouldn't have made that Michael Porter Jr. trade for 2032. I guess Sean Marks feels secure in his job and plans on being around to make that pick. Yeah, 2032 is a long way away, so if he wants to stack high lottery picks for then, that is a business decision on his end, but he's going to have to figure out how to convince Joe Tsai to have his seat held until then, because I think you're right, JC. That's probably not a pick he's going to be seeing. He's going to be hired and still in his job as Nets GM to be around to make that pick one day. So, but I do like the fact that they're spreading out the rebuild. Jonathan in the chat, one of our best listeners, Jonathan says, the Brooklyn boys, have you heard Max Strus, Anthony Simons, and Jet Horwood or Howard have been mentioned as possibility salary dump options for Brooklyn? At this juncture, I don't know how many more salary dumps Sean Marks makes. Maybe he takes on one more contract, but to me, Anthony Simons, Max Strus are guys that are only heading to Brooklyn if the Cam Thomas experiment doesn't work out, if not really an experiment at this point, but the situation doesn't resolve itself, if Thomas comes back on the qualifying offer and gets shipped out before the season, definitely Anthony Simons and Max Strus are probably guys that you're not seeing added onto this roster. But honestly, this Nets team, considering how guard heavy they are, even if Cam Thomas doesn't come back to this Nets team, you could see a situation where this Nets team just goes ahead and rolls with the guards they have now. I have to charge my computer real quick, so excuse me. There we go. Thank you all for sticking with us right here on the program. But when I get the notification that the Mac is about to go to sleep, I have to move the setup so I can get the charger in there. I have to turn up the mic volume so you guys can hear me from a little bit further away. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You guys are truly the best right here on the program. Let's see. But yes, as I was saying, this Nets team can still roll with the guard room they have, even if Cam Thomas doesn't come back. If Mark's contract is up after this season, let him walk. Jonathan says, Rashad is in the house. Rashad, thank you for tuning in to the Brooklyn Boys Show live on YouTube. I think Sean Marks can build a franchise, but once the franchise is built, he can't handle the pressure. He got 3 stars into Brooklyn, excuse me. That was a little loud. That was a little loud, but he got 3 stars into the building in Brooklyn, but could never make it past the conference semis with that team after a slew of injuries that weren't his fault. But look, you can't just add infinite superstars to a team and expect them to win it all. You got to have decent role players and guys who can succeed without the ball in their hands, which the Nets didn't have that season. So, Rashad, let's hope Sean Marks can build up this roster again. Let's hope this team is playoff contending and maybe even title contending one day. But for now, Sean Marks is going to have to do a really good job with this rebuild if he wants his spot secured and his tenure intact as Nets GM for much longer. Jonathan comes back in. Yegor and Danny Wolf's development is going to be crucial to justifying this draft class, and Yegor seems like he could be one of our team's future leaders. Absolutely. Jonathan, I'm not sure if you caught the Nets Gen documentary that I think the Nets have only put out their first episode of on YouTube. If you haven't, Nets fans, that's a big time watch or recommendational watch I got for you. That was an awesome series that the Nets put out, a documentary about the Summer League, but they did a really good job there, and they showed Yegor Gioman taking control of the team, being a facilitator on the court. Overall, I loved what I saw from him. So that documentary made me smile and made me see that, maybe his surface level 27% shooting at college isn't all that there is to this guy. And there's more behind the numbers, and he looks like a great guy to have in the locker room. So my smile is, starting to turn in the right direction in terms of what Yegor Gioman could be one day for this Nets team. But right after the draft, Jonathan, I don't know if you saw this video. We posted, Connor and I, about a 5-minute clip of me talking about why I thought Danny Wolf was the hidden gem of this draft and why I thought that he might be one of the guys of this draft all throughout the league. But his development is going to be vital after, a not great summer league, but his development is going to be vital. I think you're right. And a busy center room and a pretty busy power forward room. So, Jonathan, both those guys going to have to Dioman in the starting lineup, but Danny Wolf, more importantly, going to have to earn and stick his way onto the roster in Brooklyn. I'm super excited to what he could be, especially if he can develop as a three-point shooter, the both of them. That would be absolutely huge. And then in terms of the leadership, I think that Dioman has it as just a part of his point guard mentality. Wolf is an interesting one. We'll see. The Nets had a one-on-one interview in that Nets Gen series with Wolf, and he's talking about his adjustment to the NBA level and how it's going to be so different and how excited he is. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for all these rookies to get their chance at the NBA level under this Brooklyn Nets organization. So should be exciting all around. And Dioman and Wolf, baby. Those are probably going to be the 2 cornerstones of this draft if I had to put names on it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, double digit of you guys in the building here. Approaching the hour mark of this live stream. You guys are the best. Again, I stay as long as you guys want me to. So you want me to stay a little longer, throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Right there. My camera is mirrored around backwards, so I can't point. But if you all could smash the like and hit subscribe, we're 50 subscribers or so away from 500. It would mean so much to us to reach that awesome goal of 500. So it's free. It takes 3 seconds. Drop down below this video right now. Like and subscribe. Completely free. Costs nothing to you. But the subscription, turn on notifications to learn every single time we start a live stream, we post a new video. We post a channel update. So that's crucial to stay intact with the Brooklyn Nets community. Liking just pushes out the development of this content, throws it out on more people's For You and recommended page, and overall, just both of those actions free, takes just about 10 seconds of your day. Takes longer than it does of me explaining all this to you, but pushes the content out, gets more Nets fans in here on this awesome Brooklyn Boys community that we're building. So each and every one of you in the chat that's typing in here, you guys are the best. Smash the like and hit subscribe. I think that, this community is truly something special. All thanks to you guys. Let's see. Where were we in the chat? Marks was doing coffee runs for Coach Pop in San Antonio, says Jonathan. Timothy Park, Josh, you're a diehard going to the Nets, a home opener, knowing they're going to get blown out. Look, I get this as a birthday present back in middle of July when the schedule was still a month away from releasing, and this was the present I asked for a while ago. I'm treating Connor the Nets home opener. I think it's going to be a ton of fun at the Barclays Center. And look, Timothy, the positive is that you're only one game into the season. All hope is not lost at that point. That's what's so fun about going to the home opener. Obviously, there's just a different vibe, different energy in the building at Barclays Center. If you're going to be there, please reach out to us at the Brooklyn Boys, and we'd love to say what's up to you guys. But, you know, another thing I got to say, Timothy, and I'll say this quietly because some people aren't going to like what I'm about to say here, but you go to the home opener, Timothy, it's only real fans. This is not the game where tourists show up and, learn how basketball works for the first time and, oh my goodness, what's a three-pointer? No, no, no. You don't have that. You have people that are actually dedicated, want to see their Brooklyn Nets. They want to truly be in the building, which, a lot of the time you see teams like LA, you see teams like the Knicks, you see teams like Chicago travel to Brooklyn, and you get a huge Golden State too. You get a huge, a wave of away fans just coming in to the Barclays Center and blinding Nets fans, and it's almost like a home game for the other team at certain points. But Timothy, the plus I can say about the home opener is you have true dedicated Nets fans in the building, as I like to call myself. I like to think of myself as one of those, but honestly, it's just a different vibe, a different energy. So should be a ton of fun, even against a great Cleveland team. First time I'll get to see guys like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and a couple former Nets, Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. We'll get to welcome back to the Barclays Center court. Obviously, they've already been here, not on the Nets, but I will get to welcome them back. And I've never seen the Nets play Donovan Mitchell in person, so that should be a ton of fun, Timothy. You're the best for tuning in. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be a particularly close game. I don't think it is, but if it's any indication, going back off last season, if last season's any indication on how this season's going to go, at least we can say we think the Brooklyn Nets will be off to a hot start because they played extremely well coming out of the gates. They played so well, in fact, that they had to ship off their talent before they won too many games and they weren't in a good lottery position. Smash the like, hit subscribe right here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. We've been going at it for about an hour now, so if you're still in the building, you truly are committed. You're the best. Each and every one of you in the building. Let's see. Jonathan again. If Cam Thomas is not re-signed before August ends and this situation somehow extends into September, what percent likely is it that he takes the qualifying offer, and how important would a sign and trade be? Look, Jonathan, I harp about this almost every episode at this point, but training camp begins at the juncture of mid to late September, so you don't have a result by training camp. I don't think this thing gets resolved, and at that point, you kind of have to take the qualifying offer. You're backed into a corner where, unless Cam Thomas wants to go out there and sign $6 million with another NBA team out there, but it would just make most sense for the Nets to pick him up there on that QO, and then sign and trade would be vital because once he hits unrestricted free agency next summer on the qualifying offer, you best believe he will not be a Brooklyn Net in the future. He already has a toxic relationship with the team. It's clear he probably doesn't even want to play for him this season. So what makes you think you would want to come back and play with them long term? Just about nothing to me. So he would hit unrestricted free agency, Jonathan, and not come back. So a sign and trade would be absolutely vital. And at $6 million on the qualifying offer, basically every team in the league besides a couple that are hard capped at the second apron are going to be able to take in his contract, so you can dish him to a contending team, get some assets back before you just let him walk in free agency and get nothing back from him. So at that point, Jonathan, if it comes down to the end of August, which at this point we're on track for at August 20th, August only has 30 days? I hope. August only has 30. I'm almost certain, but it would be interesting, Jonathan, if the Nets, for some reason, decided to keep Cam Thomas through the season. That would be, a little bit surprising at this point if you don't take the qualifying offer and you actually extend him for multiple years. Let's see. JCBK all day. My favorite name in the chat so far today. Cam Thomas should take the qualifying offer. He should not trust Sean Marks with the year 2 team option. I agree, JC. Makes sense for both sides at this point. The qualifying offer just seems like the only middle ground they'll be able to reach at this point, with the stalemate going on for multiple months in a row now. Jonathan comes in again. Appreciate you tuning in. Getting in the top 4 of next year's historic 26 draft is crucial for the Nets' future. In getting a franchise guy, AJ Petterson or Boozer, especially if Marks wants to keep his job. That's the thing, Jonathan. As much as we are excited for this Nets team to play in 2025, we got to be, arguably just as excited for the 2026 class that is loaded. AJ DeBansta, Cam Boozer, you have Pettersson, so a ton of guys to keep your eye out for the 26 class. And, as the season progresses, and if this Nets team likely isn't going to be playoff contending, we'll get a little bit of a head start on the program to see who we're keeping an eye out as a high lottery pick. And then obviously, arguably the biggest day of the season will be draft lottery night. Unfortunately, that's just the way it'll almost certainly play out for the Nets this season. JC, again, the 2025 and 26 drafts should have been the Nets' chances to land their own Brown and Tatum duo, but they already blew it with the 2025 draft. JC, I mean, what a disappointment in not trading up. Like, I get it, the past is the past, so you can't reverse anything at this point. Sean Marks has followed through. This Nets team blows a prime opportunity to trade up and get your solidified guy. Like, the Nets got 5 first-round picks, and while that sounds great in theory, you didn't get your solidified guy. You didn't get your guaranteed guy. And your guaranteed guy was Trey Johnson. It was Ace Bailey. It was trading up and getting Dylan Harper. It was just, man. This Nets team, that draft, man. That draft was a mess, JC. Let's see. Brooklyn goes crazy, CJ. Brooklyn goes crazy. That's Nets Kingdom. Appreciate you in the chat. You're the best. What about Nolan Traore? Cap gonna be Nolan, and believe Nolan dropped 40 on our number 1 pick. I don't really understand what we're getting at here, but Nolan Traore is going to play a big role in this Nets team, as are a majority of the rookies this season, because, again, Jordi Fernandez is going to be ready and willing to dish out playing time, whoever he sees, and I think Nolan Traore at that 19th pick provides you with a ton of value. I'm extremely excited to see who he blossoms into at the NBA level. He's a guy that out of this class, I'm just the most excited to see how his game translates to the pro level, because there's a ton to be seen in Nolan Traore. There's a ton to be happy about, even in the summer league. I mean, you saw him getting downhill, hitting crafty layups at the basket, attacking the rack, and as a guard for the Nets, that could be something that plays a pivotal role in his playing time. So Nolan Traore, guy, I am super high on, super excited to see how he translates to the NBA level. That should be extremely exciting to see, CJ. Rashad back at it again. Rashad, appreciate you. As we just hit the 1 hour mark, I blame Nash and Marks. Hindsight has shown me that the pre-Harden trade was enough for a ring with a better coach. Man, Rashad, if Steve Nash wasn't just, I wonder who was more of everyone's fan. Robert Saleh with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets acquiring him, a wish list of everybody he wanted, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. I mean, he basically made a Christmas list, and the Jets crossed off all those boxes in terms of making Aaron Rodgers feel at home, or Steve Nash basically letting the players draw up their own play calls, and Kevin Durant saying, "Oh, we should drop this play for Kyrie," and who was more of a player's best friend, Steve Nash or Robert Saleh with the New York Jets? That's question of the day for you Nets and Jets fans out there. But man, yeah, it's trading for a third superstar after you had KD and Kyrie was. I mean, at the time, I thought they were destined for 3 straight teams. I thought this was a 3-peat squad. I thought this was the 90s Bulls all over again, but turns out just one Michael Jordan player away were the Brooklyn Nets. But again, you just can't stack superstars on a roster and expected to equivalent to rings. Equivalent. What's the word I'm looking for? Not equivalent. Gosh, I feel dumb. It'll come to me. But equal rings. That's what I was looking for. Let's see. Rashad again. Nash coaching was so bad it created a false illusion they needed more and over traded for Harden. Yeah. Yep, Rashad. I met Steve Nash before. He was outside my schoolyard. I got to say what's up to him. Well, he was still head coach of the Brooklyn Nets at some point, but my gosh, that Nets team should have certainly gone farther than the Eastern Conference semifinals at their peak. Let's see. I like Yegor a lot, but I think this is a 15 to 17 win team. Let's pray we get the number one pick. Let's pray we get the number one pick, Rashad. I think this is a 20 something win team, probably more like 23 or so. I think this Nets team has the coaching staff to elevate their games. I think even if you trade away key pieces at the deadline that are giving you pluses in terms of how they're playing, I think this is still a Nets team that, with Jordi Fernandez and the coaching staff, doesn't finish bottom of the barrel. I think they're more of the 28th, 29th best team in the league and probably a 20 to 23 win team in my book. But look, you give the rookies run, you get inexperience on a basketball court, and I mean, this Nets team has a tough schedule, so you could absolutely see it, Rashad. And I don't blame you for thinking this Nets team could be potentially one of the worst in the history of the league. Let's see. Timothy, I would have kept Jared Allen if I were the Nets. At the same time, though, he hasn't won anything for the Cavs yet. I loved Jared Allen as a Net. This was when I was a young Nets fan. For all my old-timey Nets fans in the chat, when I started watching the Nets, it was about, 2017, 2018. Seriously, I started watching them in 2020. 2021, but some of the first names I remember: Alan Crabb, Rondé Hollis Jefferson. I mean, he was a true legend. Joe Harris was my favorite Net for a little while. Jared Allen, one of the all-time greats. I always the running joke in the family was Jared Allen 6'10" with the 6'10" at the height, 7 foot with the afro. But Karis LeVert. Those were fun Nets teams, coached by Kenny Atkinson. I was also at Kenny Atkinson's final game as Nets head coach. It was a blowout win over the Kings on Martin Luther King Day before the Nets made the decision to fire him, and then ultimately I think ended up hiring Steve Nash that offseason, if I remember correctly. There might have been one coach in between here that I'm mentally lapsing on, but smash the like button, hit subscribe. Appreciate you all tuning in to the Brooklyn Boys here. Josh Woolever right here with you here on this August 20th edition of the Brooklyn Boys. Daily Nets content every single day from now through the season, even into next offseason. So if you guys could do us a quick favor, smash like and hit subscribe. It would mean a ton to us. It would mean a ton to everyone as a part of this community. And you guys truly are the best. So easy, free, fast. Like, subscribe right below this video. Drop any and all questions, comments, thoughts right there. I got it this time in the chat. Just like Timothy and just like Jonathan, who have been chatting it up all night. Jonathan comes in with his latest. This Cam Thomas situation has been such a disaster, Josh. You'd think a rebuilding team would have this many unresolved situations, but this is Sean Marks Express we're talking about here. You never know with Sean Marks. One day he could be talking about getting a 5th first-round pick, owning a 6th of the selection, and not trading it up for anything at all, and sitting back and taking everything that he's got. And, the next he could be talking about hiring Steve Nash as the head coach, and the next he could be talking about giving Karis LeVert that lucrative contract extension on his birthday. But there's a ton. You go back to the beginning of this offseason, Jonathan, and Cam Thomas was a restricted free agent. There was no team in the NBA who had even close to the cap space the Nets had in terms of what they could have paid him. But Nets, of course, went in, screwed it up, and here we are with what was their star player last year not wanting to return to the team. Excuse me, I had to take a quick drink of water on the program because you guys are the best, and we're approaching the hour 10 mark right here on the show. I genuinely think the Nets front office is holding out hope Giannis wants out from Bucks and wants to stay. I mean, I don't even want to read the rest of this, man. I don't want to read the rest of this. Giannis cannot be a net, dude. Giannis can't come to the Nets. We can't just reinvest and think blank slating the roster and getting a superstar in the building is going to fix every issue on this team. We can't do it again. But as Jonathan said in his last chat, it's the Sean Marks Express we're talking about here. I'll read your question, Jonathan, because that's the guy I am. But I genuinely think the Nets front office is holding out hope Giannis wanted out from the Bucks and wants to stay in the weak East by going to Brooklyn, but they need a franchise guy in the 26th draft. Not only do they need a franchise guy in the 26th draft, but you don't just shove an all NBA MVP type guy on a 15-win team and think that turns everything around. Jonathan, and a question to you guys in the chat. You guys have been asking a great question today. My question to you. If the Nets trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, you put him on this roster right now for free. The Nets don't give up anything in terms of player-wise. You have the exact same player personnel roster. Is this Nets team making an 8th seed? Is this Nets team getting anywhere above the play-in? I don't think so. I don't think so whatsoever. But man, they need their franchise guy in the 26th draft. They need guys outside of a star player to build around, to give them some solid pieces and build a foundation, because you don't have a great NBA team without a foundation. Timothy Park? Hell no. That's what I'm talking about, my friend. This Nets team might not even be a 10 seed. They might not be a play-in team if you get Giannis. So truthfully, I am tired of the Giannis rumors. I could not want him less on this team. And same goes for Trae Young, who's probably going to be an unrestricted free agent next offseason. Same goes for all the speculation of superstars that the Nets could potentially be bringing in. BC in the chat, go Lakers. Boo, but, how are the Lakers doing? How's their offseason been? I saw Luka lost a little bit of weight, BC, but appreciate you as a Lakers fan still tuning in right here on the program. Another great show, says Jonathan. You're the best, Jonathan. You are the best, my friend. Rashad, see, I knew Jared Allen was good back in his heyday. Rashad McCory comes in, Jared Allen made the All-Star team. Exactly. Jared Allen was more than solid. I love Jared Allen as a net. He was one of my favorites. Josh, Marks is sticking with his old playbook of looking at stars like Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, Nikola Jokic, and like Anthony Edwards if any of them were available. Yep, that's his thing. Build up the draft capital, build up the hopes, look like the rebuild's going in the right direction, and bam, let's sell it all. Let's turn everything around. Let's scrap this rebuild and let's get some stars on this roster and let's sell some tickets and sell some season tickets. Was that a good Sean Marks impression? But I'm kidding. But man, again, Jonathan, we just can't go to the recycling and diving headfirst into the all-star pool. We need supporting casts around it. Let's see. Jonathan here right before we wrap up on the program. And I've been telling people that Marks and Josiah were not going away from their old playbook because they established talent over developing homegrown talent properly. And that's what kind of bugs me about this whole Cam Thomas situation. You talked about it correctly, Jonathan. I'm sure this Nets team would love to go out there and get a superstar right now. But Cam Thomas, a guy that, some Nets fans say this doesn't matter to them, but being a homegrown talent means something to an NBA franchise. It does. It does. And the Nets hit on Cam Thomas, and as soon as it's time to pay him, and they have the contract and they have the capital space to do it, and they neglect him, they treat him like dirt, and it looks like he is not going to play another game for the Brooklyn Nets. That's not what you want to do. That's not what you want to do. And you're right, this Nets team has not been good at developing homegrown talent. But, Jonathan, what I got to say here is you can't just stop holding out hope that this Nets team will improve on it. You have a completely new system in Jordi Fernandez in terms of the coaching staff. And that's what develops homegrown talent. As much as we can hate on Sean Marks, it's not Sean Marks' job to coach these guys up into true NBA prospects. It's Jordi Fernandez's job to take talent and translate it to the NBA level and build a solid roster. That's Jordi Fernandez's job as head coach. So you didn't see any draft picks coming in 2024 when this Nets team had no picks. And now you have a completely different situation where you fly in hard of 5 first-round picks. You go from basically 0 to 60 in 1 second in 1 year. You go from no draft for Jordi Fernandez to develop to a boatload of guys who are filling up a third of the roster and are all over the place and are screaming and crying for playing time, and they're all looking to develop and hopefully make it to that second NBA contract. And look, so now it's our turn to give Jordi Fernandez his fair share. Jordi Fernandez was a very good head coach for the Brooklyn Nets last year. There's no other way about it. I want his contract extended now before other teams come looking for a high-end head coach and they poach him up. It's our turn as Net fans to give Jordi Fernandez his turn. He's got 5 golden tickets in front of him. Let's see if he can cash in 3. Let's see if he can cash in 3 of them. And that, Jonathan, that would be a successful showing for him. Smash like, hit subscribe, continuing with a couple more of your guys' final late night thoughts right here on the program. Before we begin to wrap up, any and all questions, comments, thoughts, throw those in the chat if you haven't yet. Jonathan, hope the saga is over soon so we can focus on the development of the young guys, because the Cam Thomas drama and the MPJ podcast drama are ruining the culture and the energy of Brooklyn basketball. Amen, Jonathan. Couldn't have said it better myself. You're right, Josh, that Jordy's legacy is on the line and proving he can turn raw prospects into rotation guys, and that's the ultimate test. I wouldn't say his legacy is on the line right now. I would not say that at all, because this is going to be his first round in terms of developing prospects. But you don't put all your eggs in this basket. You don't put the entire stock you have in Jordi Fernandez as a coach riding on this one draft class. It's going to play a big role because, well, he took 5 first-round picks. So if you can't get that to work out, you're going to have trouble getting anything to work out. But let's see. There's going to be a ton riding on it. Jonathan is hating on Ben Surratt. Sound the sirens, people. Sound the sirens. It is August 20th, and here we go on the hate. Wouldn't call Ben Surratt a golden ticket, maybe a coupon to Cheesecake Factory. Chill on Ben Surratt, Jonathan. Chill on Ben Surratt. Let's see what he can do at the NBA level. We haven't seen anything yet, so I cannot hate. But again, just you draft 5 players, some of them aren't going to work out, and Jonathan, by no means, you have all the rights in the world, Jonathan, to think that probably the least touted out of the Nets 5 prospects won't work out. So that's probably just the way it's going to be. Rashad checks in again. I was exiting about exiting. Wow, that's my late night brain for you. I was excited about 4 late round picks because of Allen, Cam, Claxton, LeVert. But the 4 picks from 19 through 26, this draft looks disappointing. Yep, Sean Marks has hit on late rounders in the past. Allen, Cam, Clax, LeVert, all 20s plus guys, and I wouldn't say I'm pumped about Traore again. I talked about him a couple minutes ago. Powell, very, 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 very interesting prospect in terms of what he brings you on the defensive end. And then if you can truly develop him into a consistent shooter, which is what the Nets need to do with him. And then Wolf. And then Wolf. Wolf is probably your biggest question mark in terms of how things go, but definitely a disappointing way to go about this draft. Let's see. We'll wrap up here on the show in just a couple seconds. Rashad, good night. Guys, keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Rashad, Timothy says good show. And Jonathan, have a good night, Josh. Good show, Brooklyn chat. Appreciate you all tuning in to the show here on this elongated edition of the Brooklyn Boys Show. We talked about the Athletic ranking the Nets 22nd out of 30 NBA squads in terms of off-season rankings. But overall, Nets made a lot of moves, and we recapped a ton of stuff here on this show. Smash the like, hit subscribe, helps us grow a ton. Free way to support the show on our road to 500 subscribers. You guys who tuned in, bookend to bookend, are the best. Truly appreciate you all. Share this content with friends and family. Drop down below this video. Hit up the comment section. Let us know any type of video ideas you want to see in the future. But other than that, I am Josh Wooliver saying good night from the Brooklyn Boys Show. Make sure you smash like, hit subscribe, and I'll leave you, as I always do, with one final omen of good hope. Even if this Nets team is the worst in the league, even if this Nets team is only a 15-win team like Rashad expects, at least we can say, let's go Nets, baby. Good night, everyone, and we appreciate you all tuning in.